Hey there, I'm a DIY track guy and this is my humble garage. Today is shifter rebuild day and we got ourselves a bronze bushing. That's right, we're in the Bronze Age.
And into this ring he poured his cruelty, his malice, and his will to dominate all life. One ring to rule them all.
But full and fair disclosure, I'm hopelessly overconfident and dangerously underqualified, so everything from this point on is mostly useless. Alright, what are we working with here? This is a 5X Racing bronze shifter bushing. Its home is at the bottom of the shifter assembly, right in the transmission. The stock shifter bushing is a hard plastic that can become brittle over time. It can break, it can crack, and depending on how you use the car, if it's driven really hard or if it's raced, it can become very sloppy. 5X Racing says that this bronze bushing is perfect for this application because bronze has a low metal-on-metal friction characteristic to it. So this will not deteriorate like the plastic will, and it should give us a racier shifter feel, maybe 5 times racier. To get at the shifter bushing, we do have to take off the shift knob, remove the center console, and all of the shifter assembly stuff to take the shifter out completely. Now, I've already installed a shifter bushing rebuild kit on this Miata, but since we have to take everything out anyways, I'll show you how to do that rebuild and what are the parts that are included in the 5X Racing kit.
This is the upper shift boot and we just removed it from the shifter shaft. We need to remove these 3 10mm bolts from the lower shift boot that hold the shifter assembly onto the transmission. Now that the bolts are removed, we can lift the shifter assembly off the turret like so. And there we have it. This is the OEM plastic shifter bushing that we'll be replacing with the bronze one. So let's take a look at the items included in the 5X Racing shifter rebuild kit and how they're installed. As previously mentioned, this is the upper shift boot. This is the lower shift boot where we removed the 3 10mm bolts. Under it, on the shifter assembly, is the black upper change bushing and tabbed wave washer. Looking at the transmission turret, notice that there's a pin here at the 12 o'clock position. Sitting in the turret is the lower change bushing, and below that is another wave washer. This one is not tabbed. Also notice the lower change bushing has notches in it. So to install your new rebuild kit, you'll remove your shifter assembly from the transmission and remove the old lower change bushing and non-tabbed wave washer. Then you'll take your new non-tabbed wave washer, place it in the turret, and then install the lower change bushing. Take care to line up the notch with the pin. Next, notice that this 5-speed transmission has transmission fluid in the turret. This transmission fluid is separate from the transmission fluid that you would usually change when you do a transmission flush. There's not a lot of fluid that's in here, so to extract it, an easy way is to take an old pump like this from, say, a soap dispenser. Just start pumping, and then you'll see that transmission fluid starts to come out. And there you have it. So that's the amount of fluid that was in the turret. So I have some AMSOIL manual transmission fluid. So I'm gonna fill this until it's about an inch below the top of the turret. I think that's pretty much it.
So here we are at the most messy workbench, and we're taking a look at the shifter assembly. So to install the rebuild kit, what you'll do is cut off the rubber here to remove this ring, this collar. Once this is freed off of the shaft of the shifter, you'll be able to remove the plastic, plastic collar with the wave washer. And notice the tabs on the wave washer. So with this upper bushing thing here removed, you can then remove this, and that gives you access to the anti-rotation bushing, which you can simply pry out of here gently with a flathead screwdriver. Assembly is the reverse. You'll take the anti-rotation bushing that comes in your kit, press it in here by hand. Then you'll take this plastic collar here with the wave washer, the tabbed one. You'll slide that over the shaft of the shifter and into place here. And then you will take your replacement upper cover here, this metal piece with the rubber collar, and you'll slide that over this shaft. Now, it can be a bit difficult to get it over, so I recommend putting some white lithium grease or maybe some silicone spray on the shaft to allow it to slide. And then once you get it onto the past the large part of the shifter here, then you'll notice that there's this lip that goes around the shifter. Just push this all the way through and then it'll sit nicely like so. It bothers me that there's all this gunk on the threads, so I want to de-gunk this. Conveniently, I have a jar of gasoline here that I use for my string trimmer, and I don't need to tell you the dangers of gasoline. Obviously, very flammable, very dangerous. Use this with caution. So all you gotta do is just put a little bit of the gasoline on a paper towel, rub it on the part that you want to de-gunk. Just gonna take my little scribe here and go along the threads. There's already these strings of adhesive crap. So there you go. Now that we've got our bronze shifter bushing installed, we can go ahead and reinstall this whole shifter assembly back into the transmission. So this anti-rotation bushing needs to line up with this pin here on the transmission. So you orient that towards the front. And just to note, earlier we installed the lower wave washer, this bushing with the notches in it that correspond with that pin there, and we can go ahead and install the shifter back in its home. These do not need to be very tight. Do not use your gorilla strength on these. Last but not least, we install our upper cover. We can just lubricate the shaft here with a little bit of that silicone lube here. Now might be a nice time to replace your shift boot. It's just held in by 4 Phillips head screws and this plastic piece. And you can pretty much get any one, trim it to fit, and put it in here. Now that the center console is reinstalled, we can go ahead and install our shift knob. This is the Knobby wooden shift knob that came with the car when I bought it, but I have some options. I have this Knobby branded shift knob that's made of aluminum. It's got a nice weight to it, and it needs a sleeve, but it would kind of sit down like this. My next option is this Honda S2000 style shift knob. It's also weighted, it's made of aluminum and has this nice red 5-speed diagram on the top of it. So that would kind of sit like this. What do you think? Which one should I go for? Since I've been driving with this shift knob, I'm going to change it out for one of these two. I think I'm going to go with this one for now, but I'm open to suggestions. Which one do you think I should go for? This one, or the original wooden one?
please leave a comment below. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see how this feels to shift. Huh. Not bad.
All right, let's wrap this up. This was a very easy one, but let's talk best and worst. The best part of this install for me is that it's very easy to do, and it had a noticeable and immediate difference in the way that the shifter felt. Really, the only points of contact that we have to the car are our hands on the steering wheel, our feet on the pedals, and our hand moving over to the shifter and rowing it through the gears. So a little bit more feedback, a little bit more mechanical, metal on metal friction as it's moving through the gears. That can really change and improve the enjoyment and the experience of driving your Miata. So finally, the worst part of the install for me is that, and it's not part of the install, but after I got everything back together and I went to reverse out of my garage, I wasn't able to get it into reverse. So I put it in neutral, blipped the throttle, clutched in, selected reverse again, and it wouldn't go. So eventually I figured out that if I pushed down on the shift knob and then selected reverse, it would go in. I have not, and I have never had any problems selecting reverse with the plastic bushing. Only with this bronze bushing do I have this problem. So it could be that I've done something wrong. It could be that my transmission is on its way out. Now, I did flush the transmission fluid recently, and I didn't notice any large chunks of metal or even any sparkly oil that was coming out of there, so I don't think the transmission is on the verge of breaking. So I'm going to ask you, if you have this bushing installed in your 5-speed transmission, do you have any feedback? Has this happened to you? Did I do something wrong? I'd definitely be interested in hearing your insight on this problem. So what do you think? Did I get it all wrong? Did I screw it all up? I definitely screwed up some of it. What would you have done differently? Please let me know in the comments. That's it from the Mostly Useless Garage. Take care of yourselves and the ones that you love. You keep being awesome. I'll keep being useless. Thank you so much for watching.